This video gives the demonstration of a paper craft technique known as iris folding. Iris folding uses a pattern. This one I'm using today is a pumpkin because it's close to Halloween. So if you'll take a look at the pattern, you'll see that it's marked with numbers. All of these little drawings are numbers, and each number represents the color of paper that you will use for that particular section. So over here on the pattern guide, this one calls for 4 colors, and it says pattern color A. You will put, and it tells you will put it in the section numbered 1, which is that section, and pattern colored B will go in section number 2, and so on. Now, for your colors, what you do is you cut strips of paper approximately 5/8 of an inch, and then you fold them in half so you have a sharp fold. This calls for 4 patterns, so I'm using a bright orange, a dark yellow, a light yellow, and a green. And I find it useful to write the color beside pattern A is going to be orange for me, and pattern B is going to be dark yellow, and so on. It's handy to write that down because otherwise you can forget it. So that's the first step, is to assemble your papers and your pattern. And of course, if you have your pattern on the computer, you can resize it to any size that you want. Now, for your next step, you select the paper that you're going to be using. I've decided to use a white paper. So what you do, you place your paper with the wrong side facing up. This is the back. Place the paper with the back side facing up over your pattern, and then hold it up to the light and somehow or another trace with a pencil the outline of the shape that you're going to be using. So as you can see, it's just the outline. Then when you've done that, remove it and carefully with scissors cut this out. It doesn't matter if you mess up this part, but you want to keep this part on the outside intact. Now I've cut the shape out of the paper that I'm going to be using, so just set that aside for a minute. This is the pattern, and I have cut off the pattern guide, and we'll set it aside for later. And this is painter's tape, so you can pull it off afterwards, but using painter's tape, I've attached my pattern to the table so it won't ride around. And having done that, the next thing is to position the paper over top of the pattern so you can see the pattern, and then use some more painter's tape to hold it in place. Now then, you have your paper attached with the painter's tape. Here is your pattern guide at the side. So what you do, if you'll notice, number 1, that's the color that I'm going to be using as a dark orange. So you take a strip of dark orange that you've cut to the right size and place it over like so. Then using some kind of ordinary sticky tape, you glue that down, you attach that down. Then next move along to piece number B, and that's the one that I'm using the dark yellow, so you do the same with number 2. You apply your second color and tape it down. Then number 3, that's the one that I'm going to be using light yellow, so the same thing, you attach your light yellow in there and tape it down. And number 4 is the one I'm using for green, so you would put your green there. Then move along to number 5, and referring over here, number 5 is pattern colored A, so you'd put another strip of bright orange. You continue doing that until you have finished the entire pattern except for the iris, and for now just leave the iris the way it is. So now I've finished attaching my paper to the pattern. As you can see, it forms a fair amount of bulk. so I wouldn't advise using a heavy paper like cardstock. Vellum works good, works fine, scrapbook paper is fine, ribbon, you can also do nice things with ribbon. I've used the yellows and the oranges are vellum, and my green is scrapbook paper. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but when you do your taping, you always make sure that your folded edge is facing inward to the cut. So the next thing, if you'll remember, there is this stem up here. So I'm going to be using a little scrap of suede paper that I found, and I will attach that like so with the suede side down. So that's your next step as well. Now here is the finished, almost finished project. I've removed the paper from the pattern, and as you can see, it's quite an attractive design. So the only thing remaining is to decide what you're going to do with your iris. I might decide to use a little more of this green that I used before. That's quite an attractive thing, and if I wanted, I could put a rhinestone or something like that in the middle. Or if you have some metallic paper, you might also decide to use something shiny like this underneath it. So you decide how you want to display your iris, and then go ahead and make this into a card or whatever you plan on doing with it. So this is the completed iris folding card that I've made. I've put a little jewel in the iris, and I've put a couple of little black brads up at the top and stamped it with Happy Halloween. Additionally, here's another card I've made using iris folding for Halloween. It's the witch's pot with the fire underneath, and I've put some grayish silver dimensional glue on top to represent the bubbles. If you like these videos, I'd invite you to stop by my website at scrappingbydesign.com. I have a lot more craft-related videos there, as well as some other posts and pictures. Thanks, and hope to see you there. Bye now.